Swadikap, welcome back to Striking Nation. This video is gonna be the breakdown and analysis of the first encounter between Superlek and Nabil. And just to let you know, this is actually the remake of the video that I already made long before, but I have deleted that video due to copyright reason. So I have three main points to talk about in this video. First of all is the distance management and the leg kick that Superlek used. The second thing is how Superlek managed to control the ring and compromise Nabil's right hand side. And last but not least, I want to understand the final moment and how Superlek managed to knock out Nabil. So for the context, when I write the script for this video, it was actually right after Nabil managed to beat Nico Kaelo. So the Japan instance haven't happened yet where Nabil basically ran through Superlek. A lot of people noticed that Superlek wasn't at his best. I think all the interview you guys have probably heard about it. There were a bunch of things going on. But what you know for sure is that Nabil is an extremely dangerous opponent for any fighter, even for Superlek himself. Superlek was regarded as probably the best Muay Thai fighter of this era, especially for the last 2 years. So even if he lost to Nabil, for sure you can learn a lot from the first encounter between Superlek and Nabil, especially on how to deal with a tall opponent like Nabil. This is gonna be the breakdown and the analysis. It's gonna be like a case study on what Superlek did, his game plan, and his fight IQ coming into this fight. So if you're new to this channel, leave a like, subscribe, and let's get started off with point number 1. The distance management and the leg kick that Superlek used against Nabil. So in the Superlek post-fight interview, he basically explained that his whole game plan was just to keep kicking at Nabil's leg and just wait for the giant to fall down on his own, which is exactly what he did. He come out really strong, just going for the leg over and over again, and eventually he also did say in the post-fight interview that he managed to find certain flaw in Nabil. That is why he's ready to just start hunting for the knockout. But let's just slow down a bit and just focus on what did Superlek do to adjust his leg kick so that it would work well against Nabil. The first thing I noticed about Superlek leg kick is that he would dip his standing leg down. First of all, that would give him more range to reach Nabil. The second thing that it does is help to adjust the angle that Nabil can punch Superlek from. Because while Superlek is kicking, he would not only keep his guard up high, but he would also tuck his chin down and point his head toward Nabil punching angle. This makes it so that if Nabil decided to throw a straight punch at Superlek, it would land directly on Superlek's head. And if you don't know, your skull is probably the strongest bone in your body. If you just start punching and wailing at your opponent and it lands in a bad angle, especially on the skull directly, you can actually injure your hand. So when all these things came together, the way that he dipped down to create angle, the way that he put up his high guard, and the way that he point his head directly at Nabil punching angle, it created the perfect condition for him to kick Nabil from a safe angle. Not a safe distance, by the way, because Nabil can always reach Superlek, but Superlek take advantage of Nabil height to create the perfect angle to land his leg kick from a relative safe zone. Another interesting point to say about Superlek leg kick is that he would use Nabil jab as a range fighter. Every time that Nabil tried to jab Superlek, he would immediately fire back with his leg kick. The distance match up really nicely from Nabil jab to Superlek leg kick. So aside from the leg kick technique, we talk a bit more about the range management work that Superlek did. Well, let's look at the bad example first. So the fight between Nabil and Nico Kaelo went really unexpectedly for a lot of people. People thought that Nico Kaelo would manage to power through Nabil, but I believe Nico Kaelo made one of the worst mistakes that he could do against a taller opponent like Nabil, and that mistake would be he would always stand at the direct end of Nabil punches, and that of course allowed Nabil to just start firing punches at Nico Kaelo. He couldn't really do much because Nico's range is obviously going to be shorter than Nabil. If he gonna stand directly in front of Nabil like that and some more in the range where Nabil can hit him but he cannot hit Nabil, that is just a recipe for disaster, and you can see that play out with a bunch of nice clean punches that Nabil managed to land on Nico Kaelo. And if you compare to the way that Superlek decided to deal with Nabil, Superlek makes sure that he respects Nabil's distance by first going in as much as he can, and when he's on the outside, he doesn't linger in those range that Nico would be standing at. That is why you see the way that Superlek was fighting Nabil in that fight. It's either he's just standing there going for leg kick, step back, leg kick, or he would be pressuring Nabil and go as close as possible, or at least threaten to go as close as possible so that Nabil will close up and not stand at the edge of Nabil punch for any second too long than he need to be. And that basically sums up the idea of the distance management and the leg kick game that Superlek displayed against Nabil. And now the second point I will be talking to is how Superlek used the ring to his advantage. And the idea is really simple. Whenever Superlek get Nabil to a corner, he would always make sure that he managed to control Nabil right side against the rope. And let's just see how he did that. Let's look at the first instance that happened. As you can see here, Superlek jumped in the air and land in a southpaw position. From here would have been a lot easier for Superlek just to start throwing in maybe like a heavy left hand straight at Nabil body or just go for the head. But instead, he decided to throw a right leg kick. And there's two things that I want to point out about this kick. So first of all, when Superlek threw this kick, he positioned himself to the right of Nabil. What this do is that it forced Nabil to turn his right side against the rope and making sure that his right leg and right arm is trapped in those rope. And from there, Superlek right side is still fully open to swing, so he get in a few right kick and that is it for that interaction. But then this similar thing happened again at 1 minute 46 seconds into the video. So Superlek at this point, he know that he's been throwing leg kick the whole game. So he decided to throw one more time, but this time is to fake at Nabil. He threw a fake leg kick to make Nabil flinch, trying to escape away from Superlek right kick. And the same thing happened again. Superlek right side is fully open, while Nabil right side is now meshed against the rope. From that corner position, he's unable to pivot into his kick. It is going to be harder for him to balance to go for a knee, and it's going to be even harder for him to swing into a powerful right side punch. And as you can see here, Superlek yet again lingered on the right side of Nabil, making sure that if Nabil want to escape, he have to escape clockwise, which will actually set up for Nabil to get trapped again in another corner. At 1 minute 51 seconds into the video, Superlek stepped in with another powerful right kick to the leg, and because of how the kick was angled, it forced Nabil to go back to the corner and his right side to still be against the rope because Superlek positioned himself to still be at Nabil right side to use the same corner play technique again. And from there, Superlek go for the body and go for the head, and that is basically it for Nabil in that fight. So I want to compare those interactions that Superlek did, or the corner play, or the ring cutting technique, to the fight of Felipe Lobo versus Nabil. It was said that Felipe Lobo was partly trying to mimic the strategy that Superlek used against Nabil. And I believe the corner play and the ring cutting technique was where Felipe Lobo gone wrong. So at 6 minutes into the video, Felipe Lobo decided to go with a left overhand against Nabil. It gave a lot of space for Nabil to circle anti-clockwise to the left of Felipe Lobo, and in this position, Felipe Lobo was unable to respond to Nabil strike. But another more clear incident that happened was at 10 minutes 53 seconds, where basically if you look at the same picture side by side from the Superlek fight and the Felipe Lobo fight, they are mostly in the same position, cornering Nabil in the corner. And just to remind you, what Superlek did in this position was to fake the right kick, mash Nabil against the corner, position himself to the right of Nabil, and basically trap him in that corner really effectively. But what Felipe Lobo decided to do instead was that he go for his left hook, and by doing that, he didn't manage to lock up Nabil right side, give him space to fire back immediately with that right power side. So from there, you already understand how great Superlek fight IQ is. His ring control, his space control, the way that he can maneuver himself into not only the advantageous position, but also compromise his opponent's strength by wisely positioning himself and also force his opponent to go into a compromising position on their own. And this brings me to the last point for this video is what happened to Nabil. How did he went down against Superlek? Was it the punch to the head or was it the punch to the body? Basically, how durable is Nabil? So just to answer this question, I went back and watched the fight between Nabil and Gulabdam. Since Gulabdam is known to be one of the hardest hitter in the division, alongside with Nico Paolo at that time, there was actually quite a few clean shots that land on Nabil. I would say give or take maybe around 10 shots or so from his left side alone, and 5 of those seem to be full power. So from that fight, you can see that most of the shots that land on Nabil, especially if he have his guard up and it was a small shorthand shot, Nabil seemed to take that really easily. There was only one moment where I noticed that Nabil's leg was wobbly after eating 3 consecutive power punch from Gulabdam. Other than that, Nabil managed to stay stable. I would say overall, Nabil seemed to be a lot better in his durability. I believe I heard some interview talking about Nabil where his condition in his first fight against Superlek wasn't that good. That was part of the reason why he wasn't able to take Superlek punches. But another reason why Nabil durability seemed to increase, I would probably say, is because he moved up the weight class from flyweight to bantamweight. You can see the comparison picture, he looked a lot better, he looked a lot more fit. So right now, the score from Nabilanane and Superlek is 1-1. Both of them seem to say the same thing, that in the respective fight that they lose to each other, they are not 100%. Nabilanane is now the undisputed bantamweight Muay Thai world champion, and the trilogy fight will come one day after Superlek managed to bounce back from this loss. And that is going to be the end of the analysis of Superlek versus W1. And if there's anything that you can take from this video, the way that Superlek throws his leg kick against Nabilanane, that is really beautiful in my opinion. You can use that immediately against your taller opponent in your sparring session. In terms of corner control, ring control, all the stuff are gonna be a little bit harder to notice and a little bit harder to use, especially in a sparring session, unless you get to do a proper sparring in the ring. But definitely can be something that's really effective, especially if you know about it and your opponent doesn't understand it fully. So take advantage of that if you can. If the detail is too much, just remember, position yourself, allowing your power right side to swing freely while your opponent right side is trapped in the corner. And that's all I have to say for this video. Thanks for watching and see you next time.